Welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast, powered by the African American Marketing Association. Each week, we'll bring you an insightful conversation from some of the best experts in our industry on how to advance our career. Join the collective of Black marketers across the world, advancing their brand as we work towards creating a collaborative community. Hey, good people. Welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast. I am your host, Michelle Gomez, and today's special guest is Oliver Banks of Oliver Banks Art. And I am so excited to have him on the show. We are Instagram friends, been following each other for some time, and I'm just super impressed because he is an illustrator or an animator. So I think this is a new twist to marketing. So I'm really excited to dive into this topic. Oliver, how are you doing today?
I am pretty good. And thank you for inviting me to the podcast. And also thank your listeners and thank everybody who likes my work.
Very cool. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. My name is Oliver Banks. I am the creator of Art Monkey Animation, which is a Houston-based 2D animated company. I started off as an illustrator. I would go back and forth to different conventions within Texas, and then I branched out and started going to like New York Comic Con, C2E2, the San Diego Comic Con, and so from there, like my animation company was like a natural progression from illustration, and so I've been doing that since 2017.
All right, so help me out here. Okay, I need your help. So what's the difference between illustration and animation?
Okay, the difference between illustration and animation is illustration is just a portrait, any type of picture, just a still, basically. But animation is something that moves. It's the same thing, but it moves. It's an action. It's telling a story, basically, with action. I mean, because a still can tell a story at the same time too. But animation is more of a movement medium, closer to film.
And something else you said, I guess, what's the difference between 2D and 3D?
Okay, 2D is basically the traditional animated style, where they used to kind of, everybody knows the little flip book technique, to where you draw one picture, then you draw it on the next page, and then you flip. And so that's basically a 2D rendering type style that Disney is known for starting off with. But now 3D is what Pixar is known for. And so Pixar has the more, lifelike characters in animation and stuff like that. So the difference is the 80s and 90s Disney versus the Pixar, the 2000s Pixar. So that would be 2D, and then the Pixar would be 3D.
Okay, very cool. So I guess, is it safe to assume that you've always been a good drawer?
Yes. I started, and as far as I can remember, I know the age of 5. So around the age of 5, I started drawing well, even before I could write my name. Mm-hmm. And so it's like one of those things to where, that was my first experience, and I got that from comic books and cartoons. And so I never really understood like what I was doing as I was drawing, but I knew that it was the way to express myself. And it was an easy way to do it, because I didn't, like I said, I was doing that before I was writing my alphabets. And so as far as back as that, I can remember actually being entered in contests around, I say between the age of 6 to 10, and winning different contests, drawing contests, especially like the Houston Rodeo and like stuff like that. I actually won one year, and the prize was like making me like an honorary fireman or something like that. I got the trophy and stuff like that. I never really cashed that in. Maybe I should have. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Like I would say, I was being validated as an artist by winning those trophies, but no one ever really just said, "Oh, yeah, you can do this for a living." It was always pushed as this is a nice hobby that you have, and then that's it. Now do something else. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I definitely wanna unpack that, like, that's why I'm so intrigued by you, and and so it's a lot in my head, right? So
No
one
problem.
one what I do love about social media is just the exposure that kids, teenagers, and even college students have at this age because we didn't have it or I didn't have that, 20 years ago when I was starting college. It was pretty much, office, professor, medical field. Like you didn't know how these industries really operated or especially as a creative. And then the second thing I think about is like part of it's like shout out to your parents, right? For just nurturing that talent, allowing you to enter the contest, just allowing you to obviously as a child, I guess it is a hobby, it is a passion. But I am curious on what was the pivotal change that allowed you to explore this as a career or a full-time career?
Uh, well, it wasn't so much as like being pushed because the reason that I did enter those contests is because I entered them.
Okay.
My parents, I'll give them the credit with this. Whatever I asked, well, especially my mom, whatever I asked her, or wherever I told her, hey, I got this thing I'm doing, she was down for it. But because the lack of knowledge, she didn't really,
Mm,
she wasn't, she was supportive in, okay, let me do this thing for my son. But it wasn't, okay, let me make sure my son does this for a living. You
gotcha.
know what I mean? It was almost like, like their kid taking their kid to sports. They don't think they're going to go to the NFL, but they just, he wants to do it. It's something that he wants to do. And so, I honestly went a long period of time of it just being a hobby. It wasn't until I got, as an adult, to where I was like, well, let me pursue this for a living. And I actually was working at a it was like a warehouse environment for a company. They build these pieces for oil rigs to drill. And I was just working, 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 and something just told me one day I should be doing my art for a living. And as crazy as it sounds, I just started breaking it down. It wasn't like a on a whim type thing. It was on a thing to where I realized that art is everything. Like it's actually everything. Like we wouldn't have logos, we wouldn't have TV shows, we wouldn't have, a lot of things, billboards, like the clothing, you
Mhm.
know, it's pretty much everything, but it's the most disregarded um I guess option because they have that saying out there, the starving artists,
Mm,
artists don't make money. But there's millions, well, not millions, but there's a couple of thousand artists out there that's making millions off of their paintings, you know. Or if you don't want to go the fine art route, making money off of doing commercials or doing documentaries or doing animated features or it's so many avenues that we could go in as being artists, but it's often shunned, to the point to where it's delegated to just being a hobby. And that's going to come up a lot in my speech because that's all it was ever told to me, is that it's just a hobby. And so as I, worked, I actually made a plan and I said, you know what, I'll give myself 2 years. And it was weird, but I stuck to it. I was like, I'm gonna give myself 2 years, 2 years to build, 2 years to see if I can, kind of launch myself off this launching pad. And it worked for me. I went to one of my first Comic Cons in I think it was like 2012, and I never had been to one. Honestly, didn't even know that there were any in Texas. I thought it was just something that was on TV, and
mm.
I went to Arlington. I remember I went to Arlington, and there was one there, and it was called Wizard World. And so I went, and I spoke with, which I didn't know at the time, but this guy, he was like a major figure in comics. His name is George Perez. He died recently of cancer. But I was talking to him across the table, and I was asking him questions, and I was saying, what can I do, to kind of get in your position, not knowing that he was working for Marvel and DC, and like, like, nah, I didn't know that. But then I got to talking to him more, and he was telling me all this. I was like, well, that was a stupid question. But he was like, no, you can be here. He was like, all you gotta do is just buy a table. And I
Mm.
was like, what? He's like, yeah, yeah, just buy a table, put your art together, and sell your art. And I was like, is that simple? And he was like, yeah. And these conventions are everywhere, and they're for everyone, no matter if you're working for Marvel or you're just an illustrator off the street. And I was like, man, so that gave me that spark as I was working, my 9 to 5, to be like, man, I can be doing my art, but I'm building this company. I could be building myself, but I'm building somebody else, and they can let me go at any point. But if I'm working for myself, I have the opportunity to build myself to something. And then if I fail, then at least I can say I tried, because I'm going to reach 50 anyway. But if I reach 50 as my own, owning my own business and doing what I love, then it's going to, it's going to be benefit me.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been in Houston the whole time? Like born and
Yes,
raised?
born and raised.
So has there ever been that moment where you feel like you needed a move to grow your career? Right.
Yes. When I first started, and I was just stuck going to the different Comic Cons in Houston. Everybody would say, well, you need to move to California, go to Burbank. The Burbank, if people don't know, Burbank is like the area where, like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, like all of these big time animation studios are in that area. And this was I would always be told this, but I wasn't really just thinking about, well, I'm going to do animation. I was always just an illustrator. And I would ask questions, and how could I get to this point, this point, or that point? Some people were like, well, you need to go to Cal Arts, and try your luck going to school and paying like $40,000 tuition to. And I'm like, I don't even have a car, like I can't pay $40,000 for a car, like let alone pay for education. And so yeah, going to like telling me to go to California, go to New York, go anywhere but Houston or Texas was like a big thing. It was huge. What grounded me in staying and wanted to be here, and now you see everybody's coming here, right? And so I'm glad I stayed. And so, but like what grounded me to stay here was was I tried to book a job. I'm sorry. Uh, my mind was going to race.
Mhm.
Okay, I was booking a job to do caricature work, and while I was doing this caricature work, um, a company had approached me, and they was like, "Well, you draw real very good, but we wanted to see if you knew someone or if you could do any animation." And so they was like, "Yeah, we need some animated commercials." And I was like, yeah, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, yeah, I can do that. Whatever you need, just get in touch with me. Here's my information, whatever. I have no idea how to do animation. I have never been taught animation, never was trained in animation. I remember when I was younger, I used to take a piece of paper and put it on, like, I used to pause the VCR. VCR, I'm telling my age now. I used to pause the VCR and then put the paper on the picture, and it made the picture shine through so I can trace, the
Yeah,
characters.
yeah, yeah.
And what I would do is, like, if you press the pause button it can kind of move, move, slowly, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
frame by frame. And I used to do that and then make my little flip books or whatever. And people just like, how did you do that? Like, but I traced, but still, it was something that I used to do. So that was the
That's
crux,
clever.
you could say, of my animation teachings. Like
That's really
nobody
clever.
yeah, nobody ever taught me that, but I just thought about I wanted to know how it worked, and because cartoons around that time, it was like DuckTales and what was the other ones? Like Darkwing Duck and like, stuff like that. It just mesmerized me. Like I was like trying to figure out how these things work. And that's where I went from that to doing that. And so by them asking me that, I was like, you know what? I'll ask for forgiveness later. Like, I'll just say yes and then just try to figure this out. And so they was like, well, we will. The project is like, well, we need it in 2 weeks. We need two separate commercials. I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Like, this was like terrible. Like, I was like, it was the worst case scenario. I thought it was just going to be like, yeah, you have a couple of months and stuff like that. But me knowing animation, but not really dealing with it, I know that it takes way longer than 2 weeks. And so I was frightened. But they gave me the gist of what they wanted in it, and man, I pulled it off. Like I did a whole animated sequence. And this what I did. They had two products that they wanted to sell. I put it all in one uh animated thing commercial, and then I chopped it up and
Mm.
made it two. And so from there, I sent this to them. They was like, "Oh yeah, this is amazing! This is amazing!" And when they were like, I was like, well, because I'm going to conventions. I'm used to making like, I'd say on a good weekend, I'd make like probably like $2,000 or something like that, which is good. That's pretty good. Especially depending on, you don't really know what people want, so you just draw what you feel like people want, and then they come to your table and, okay, I want that. Boom. So on a model of maybe they might want it, 2,000 is pretty good. So I didn't really understand or know the price range of what, to that they were going to pay, but their marketing people knew. And so they was like, okay, well, we're going to give you this. And it was like $15,000 just for that one commercial. And I was like, what? I tried to play it. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, that's what I was going to tell you how much it was, you know. And I was hooked after that,
Yeah.
because I was like, really, okay. And I did this in 2 weeks, and it came out pretty good. I wish I could show you right now the commercial, but I'll show you another time. But
Yeah.
it came out really good. I also like I didn't, because they was like, yeah, we need this voiceover person. We need it to be edited. And I'm like, I don't, man. So I went and I found this voiceover person. They voiced over the commercial. It was professional, like, and I edited it all. I put it in like a program. I didn't know what I was doing. I edited. I was like, man, this thing is professional. I was like, yeah, yeah, you came to the right person. And so after that, I was like, okay, this is going to be a thing. I was like, I just knew it would. And so I sat down and I said, okay, I need to create my company name. I need to, be serious about this, at this point. And it just, everything just kind of took off from there. I can keep talking from there, or you can ask me another question, but
No. Go
from,
ahead, go ahead,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
keep going. From there, uh, a company it was called Food Fight Studios, out of the UK, saw the commercial, and they was wondering like, well, who, because the commercial was for an energy company, and so I guess it just was kind of worldwide, and so somebody from the UK saw it, and they was like, okay, well, I want to see who this person is that did this, and so he messaged me on Instagram, and he was like, I'm going to be in Austin uh, for a couple of days. I'd like to meet you. And I was like, well, I'm in Houston. It's a lot of, and if you are artists on Instagram, your DMs are full of rappers who want music videos.
That's funny.
and people telling you, draw me, and without
Yeah,
like any type of monetary, you know, thing that they think they have to pay. And so I'm like, nah, I think I'll stay in Houston. He was like, trust me, you want to come and meet me or whatever. And so I was like, okay. So I got a lot more information from him. I saw that his company was based out of the UK, and he's based in Florida and the UK. And he was just visiting Austin. So I drove 2 hours down to Austin from Houston, and we had a chat. You know, we talked, and he was like, "Well, I'm doing documentaries, and I want you. I love your style, you know, and I want you to be able to do that." Because I thought he wanted commercials. You know, he
hmm,
wanted to do documentaries. And the first documentary that I did with him is called uh, "Choose Yourself." James Altucher, the James Altucher story.
yeah.
Yeah, and I actually did the animation for that documentary.
I didn't know he had one.
Yeah, it's on Amazon right now.
Okay, I used to follow James Altucher a lot a couple of
Yeah,
years ago and listen to his podcast. I've read some of his books.
yeah,
Okay, I've read that particular book, Choose Yourself. I didn't
yeah,
know there was a doc. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
yeah. I can send you some stuff on that as well. The animation and like the character of him. I did everything. The
Oh
character
my
design,
gosh!
the animation, all of that. And that was my first movie.
And is that the one you won an Emmy for? Or
No,
yeah.
the one that I won an Emmy for, I did another one with the food fight, and it was called Dreamer, and that one won the Emmy, and by proxy, you know, because of my animation, I won. So
Very cool. And is that a documentary as well?
yeah, and that one is on. I think that one is on Amazon as well, if I'm not mistaken. And it has
Congratulations.
you if you ever watch the commercial, it has the Virgin Mobile guy in it. I don't know if you know who that is, but it has him in. He he's the millionaire dude. He's billionaire. I think he flies the planes and
Yeah,
you know
yeah, Richard Branson?
Richard Branson. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name, but it has him in it and a few other people and stuff
Okay.
like that. So yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, not yeah, man. It after that one commercial, it just kind of started going up and up, you know. And so far, yeah, it's been looking good, you know.
Okay, so I have several questions.
Okay, no problem.
Um, one, because you mentioned the marketing team earlier, right? And so with these different projects, I guess it's like I'm very curious on how do you communicate and work with, I guess, a marketing team when it comes to your work.
As if oh well, it's always like as in like physically like what I use to communicate with them or how is it set
I
up?
guess how? Because I guess I'm
Yeah,
thinking as a strategist, I'm thinking,
yeah,
okay, what's the plan? Okay, we have this marketing plan, this marketing
hmm
campaign, and then be like, okay, let's do animation, right?
hmm
So I guess the process of contacting you, you working with the marketing team, I'm just very curious because I don't think people as a marketer, it's very rare that I think about animation, right?
right,
And it could be a budget thing,
yeah,
you know, a growing business versus a corporation and resources. But I guess I'm curious as a marketer, I'm curious when that light bulb comes on. This is the campaign. Let's reach out to you.
yeah. I think I can use the energy company for an example. They were looking at like the trends and stuff like that with across the social media, and so they kind of was like, man, these short spurts of animation or, marketing animated videos were at the time were doing like big numbers, and people would replay them over and over again. And they were like, well, instead of doing this for network TV, let's do it for like a social media campaign. And they just came to me and they was like, yeah, this is going to be on social media. We're going to spread it across. And from what I know, they did really well with those commercials. So,
Good. Yeah, and that's what I'm curious about.
yeah.
Um, the second thing is, what kind of software do you use, and how important is technology in order for you to maintain your craft?
I like that question. That's a great question. Technology is not important at all. Like it's just not. Now, if you want certain, I would say if you want certain, responses, it may be important. Um, if technology is important to move with the times, but it's not everything. There are still some artists today that are doing the whole flip thing, like the old Disney flip thing, and still making their animations that way. And I mean, and the biggest thing they do is probably get some young kid to upload it, upload it to the internet or whatever. But it's just about the work ethic and the know how, and it's just a tool. It's about as important as a pencil in your hand. You know, it's just what you do with it and how you use it. That's basically what it is. Because a lot of kids, and I get this question a lot because a lot of kids come to me. It's like, what kind of tablet should I get? What kind of tablet should I get? I'm like, well, do you draw on paper? No, I don't draw. I'm like, well, what you think you're gonna do when you get a tablet? You're not, you're not gonna. It's not gonna advance. You're not gonna jump to my level just by getting a tablet like I got one. Um, the I made those. I made that first commercial just on iPad, just on a regular software, nothing fancy. It wasn't even Photoshop. It was just a regular pad. I used the editing software, and then I used like different. I don't even think I used After Effects on it. Yeah, it was just a flat, you know, nothing special about the equipment. It was just the know-how and the problem solving. Because when the less you have, the more problem solving you have. So it's just like I have to
Mhm.
figure out how to do this. Because you'll probably have one program that like is industry standard is Toon Boom. Like every animation company probably uses it, and it's loaded with things that you need, like from start to finish. But if you only have, something like Procreate, I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's a drawing app that's pretty big on Apple. If you just have that and you use what like the everything that it offers, and you need a little bit extra, go and get uh a editing software, or go and get, like, you just pull different things to kind of make or do what you need done, and it'll still look just as good if you don't cut any corners. So to me, technology is not that big of a deal, but if you can afford it and you can get whatever you need, because those programs are like $3,000 and $5,000 and stuff like that. Because one thing that I know is anything they might say that, oh, you're gonna be a starving artist and this and that, but people know that art is everything because they charge like uh, a famous pair of markers are called Copic markers, and a lot of like traditional artists, they color with these markers. There's 6 markers in that bunch that cost almost like $60 just for 6 markers.
Mhm.
And so it's like the art community is being charged because they know that there's a business behind it. It's a full blown business. You can make money. And so somebody knows that artists can make money. And it's either these corporations or something, because they're charging an arm and a leg for these art apps, for these iPads, and all of these things that you can actually grow a business with. So yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Hmm. Okay. Um, okay. So next, how important is it to have a portfolio? We see and hear about it all the time with graphic designers and even web designers. Does that same hold true for yourself?
Yes, yeah, it's very important to have a portfolio because you want to be ready when anybody it's it's like now like a lot of people want to get discovered, whether it be, a singer, a rapper, or, entertainer, or anything like that. But if you don't have the workflow, that it,
Mhm.
it, it may sound counterintuitive, but if you don't have the work to get the work, then you're not going to get the work. And so it's kind of like, I kind of like Shark Tank because it kind of gives you that upfront, because they like Shark Tank, they come in and they say, "Well, I got this product. I want you to invest in it." Well, how much did you sell? That's the first thing they say. How much have you sold before coming to me? And the ones that sell like that have sold like a millions and like a whole lot of product, they sit up and they're like, okay, so you're selling. See, and so it's like you want to see the work before they want to see the work before you make them work. And it's kind of one of those things. And so if you have a portfolio, it's best to have that on deck ready. Like with me being an animation company, I might not have the titles already made and ready to go, but I have titles, I have logos, I have character designs, I have images. I have all of these things. So if I go and pitch, all I got to do is put it up on the monitor and say, okay, this is what you're getting, or this is what you might get. And so having all of that is a must. I feel like it's a must, because just telling somebody an idea, you're asking them to picture it themselves, and they might not be as creative as you, or they might not understand the idea like you do. And so you're going to try to convince them of words rather than visuals. And we are visual people. So that is best to have all of that, your portfolio up and ready to go, especially if you want to get with these big name companies, because that's all they do is they don't just take your word for it that you're a
Yeah.
good artist. They want to see what you have.
Yeah, that's really good. I think from well, at least from what I'm getting is even if you don't have the work, you got to take some initiative, right?
Yeah.
So if you're really a designer, start designing,
Right.
create something.
Exactly. Yeah. And try to sell it. You
Yeah.
know, try to sell it. See if anybody's interested, because that's the biggest thing. Is like you can say that you have a product that everybody wants, but if they don't want it, it doesn't mean anything. And so if you have this and you design it and you put it out there and you say, hey, I sold like 3 of these, 4 or 5 of these last week. That's something to go on if you're trying to get a job with somebody that does that type of thing. So
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. I actually don't have any more questions, but I am
yeah,
curious. Is there anything else that we just need to know? I guess
yeah.
one, speaking to other animators and creatives, and then two, speaking as a marketer that may eventually want to hire an animator. So,
Okay. Well, I would say, because a lot of people talk about, belief in yourself and things of that sort. There's always a door that can be open, whether you create it yourself or somebody, opens it for you. Like early in my animation career, it may seem like it was real short. I jumped from the commercial to movies to, stuff like that. But I was trying to get with Nickelodeon. I was trying to get with Cartoon Network,
Mhm.
and all of those rejected me, or I was trying to get with HBO Max right before the pandemic. And I was close, but what ended up happening, they changed regimes and
Mhm.
Discovery came in and bought. And so that program that they had was kind of frivolous to them. And so they just got rid of it all, which it makes sense, but because they were spending a lot of money on things that really didn't. But I felt like they should have kept the Black People Initiative. Keep
Mm.
that. Don't get rid of everything else, and keep that just
Don't
the
get me started
minority.
on that, but yeah.
Ex- Exactly. It's like, man, come on. Like, don't let us be the chopping block first. So, but that kind of stopped. Man, I honestly I thought that was going to be the thing, but I mean it's funny. Like, I got that that Emmy or whatever, or the title, and I'm still kind of like like the HBO Max thing would have been like the validation. Like, but I don't want that to be that anymore. Like, I really want whatever I create or come up myself, or whatever comes out of Art Monkey Animation now. I want that to be the validation in the
Yeah.
end, because um, just I think you'll get more out of, because I have like a lot of friends that I talk to, and one of the guys is a guy that worked for Disney, and he was like he on, and I don't want to be like a downer for anybody who wants to work for them, but he was like he wasn't fulfilled. He was doing all of these projects, and it was for Disney, but he wanted to do his own thing. He wanted to create his own characters. He wanted to get his own, and he was a African American man, and so it's like we don't get to be put in the director's chair often in those companies. So his ideas won't be heard, and
Mm.
so he left, and now he's like way bigger than
Wow.
what he would have been in. I don't know if you ever seen his work on Instagram. I just want to shout him out anyway. His name is Mel Milton, and if you go to his page, his art is amazing, very amazing. And he always counsels me, and he's like, man, what you're doing, do it. Don't even think about it. Just do the work that you're doing, and consistency is key. Consistency. Just be consistent, and always work hard. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. I know a lot of people probably don't know who or what Art Monkey Animation is, but I'm pretty sure that sometime soon it'll be known. Um, the biggest thing that I'm working on, I do have like 10 animated titles that I have character designs and story scripts and all of that for. But currently, what I'm working on is something called it's a He-Man project, but it's called Hero Corps Messages to the Youth. And
Hmm.
where this came about is it was a cosplayer who dressed up as He-Man, and he got real popular for San Diego Comic Con. He got real popular. He knew me as an artist, and so we kind of got together because he had got this story from this young Black mother, and her kids were saying that the kids at school was teasing them because they liked the cosplayer, and they was like, see, there is a Black He-Man, but the kids were like, no, he doesn't have a cartoon, so that's not that's no such thing as a Black He-Man. And so they came to the mom and complained to the mom, and she complained to the cosplayer. And he came to me and was like, hey, we need to make a cartoon, for these kids so it can show people that we are relevant, and we can have Black superheroes. And so we decided to do it as the old school. I don't know if you know, but the He-Man PSAs, like where at the end of the show, he'll say, well, kids, obey your parents, or
Mhm. Okay.
kids, don't do drugs, whatever. Well, we decided to do that for we just call him He-Man, but he's the Black He-Man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so And so we decided to do that for him. And so we created an intro, a card. Well, first we did a Kickstarter, and we just wanted $1,000 for each PSA, and that would be like the ground level of, because everything's going to look like the old school, cartoon, but up to date. And so we budgeted it at that, but it raised 20,000. And so, yeah, towards the end, it raised 20,000 because we put in a factor to where if you put in 1,000, you can actually be a character. And so it was a lot of people wanted to be an animated character, and so they kind of put in, and it was a lot of people that chose to do it. And so I created the character designs, and then I went from doing a character design to creating the storyboard. Then I did storyboard, and then created the intro, the cartoon intro. I'll send that to you as well if you haven't seen that. But yeah, and now I'm working on the first PSA now, and it's pretty much telling young Black kids that you can be a hero. You can be a superhero. You can be you can look up to characters, and you have cartoons that you can look at and all that. And so that will be the first PSA, and that's what I'm currently working on.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my God. I've learned so much from you this afternoon. How can people find you? How can people connect with you?
You can connect with me on Instagram. I do have a YouTube channel that I am currently trying to stick with doing things on, but animation takes so long. So I just try to do a speed video here and there, or kind of like a study video sometimes if I have a subject that I'm interested in to teach people. So the YouTube is Art Monkey Animation, and my Instagram is Oliver Banks Art. My Twitter is horrible as well. My Facebook is horrible as well. So but it's all under the same name, either Oliver Banks Art or Art Monkey Animation. So.
All right. Well, we'll definitely have those links in the show notes. Once again, Oliver, thank you for being on the show and lining us with your talent. Yeah, I just feel like it's other things we need to learn. Like everything doesn't need to be digital marketing / graphic design per se. There's other things out there. And I think even if you're not an animator, I just love your story, right? Your story of how to transition into full-time business. And that alone, I know someone will be inspired and showing up, being visible, doing good work, figuring it out. There's so many lessons in your story. So thank you for sharing that with me today.
I appreciate you for having me on, and I'd love to do it again anytime.
Yeah. All right, good people. As always, thank you for tuning in to the Marketing for the Culture podcast. Thank you for listening to Marketing for the Culture podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe, whether it's on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And of course, our videos are on YouTube. If you have a moment, feel free to give us a rate, review, or just comment. We appreciate our sponsors for their continuous support. Also, if you're interested in learning more about our sponsors or becoming a member of the African American Marketing Association, visit aa-ma.org.